years and years without the victim ever knowing about it. To protect ourselves against this kind of attacks, we need to be vigilant. The users need to be vigilant. Don't click on any link that you're not sure of. And also try to ensure to do some security audits to save important data and information on a continuous basis. This kind of attack is extremely dangerous. It takes a long time to get the maximum quantity of information. Example of LPT attack. That have a solution on the secure IT. And this solution uses a token that can be shared. This token can be used by the clients to generate their password. When this company was attacked, the attacker got all the secrets, and they can get all the passwords that are supposed to be very secure, and can use this to go into the client's systems. How do we respond to this? We need to use protection, detection, and reaction. Detection, we need to protect ourselves from cyber attack. Even if you have protection, you need to react very fast to detect the attack, to minimize the damages, and also see how we can stop the attack. The strategy to talk to this kind of cyber attack on the international level, we need to put in place the fingerprint system for making some payments online, even to protect your banking code. Can I repeat, please? I didn't understand your question. I say in order to protect the Indian is it very effective? Oh yes, there is a main way for identification for fingerprints. This is something very effective, but this cannot be, you see, cheated, you see, or hookers, or those attackers, they are so, you see, very clever. They always try to find out different means and ways to bypass, but you see, this, sorry, I need to have something vis-a-vis to your question. Please keep in mind, there is no security 100%, it doesn't exist, you see, because today you can simply say the technology that you have put in place is always already in a risk to be attacked. Oh yes, for me, let me go back to what you say. Can you ask your question? Yeah. Instantly, I'm like a member of board of directors for regulation authority in Senegal. So today we are in the face of a big challenge for the harmonization. We have to do that. The security has to be managed at the regional level in Africa. It's very complicated, but actually we do not have you see, something visible. There's no structure in existence. But my question is to know what can we do, concretely speaking, to move forward, you see, because we say we have to be in connection or contact with people, we have to do ourselves. Oh yes, but by the way, you can see that there is nothing will be done. And this is very critical because this is attacks that occurred recently, even in Africa sometimes. It's danger. Maybe we have a few companies, but today when we are experiencing all these kind of attacks, all the administration will be down, even in Yahoo or Gmail, everything we have. I think there's a few of those search engines having very well organized. Even others, we are there. The stage where we are at zero maybe, but where are we going to? Exiting this meeting, can we come to a point to say that, okay, now we need to use AU and this is what we can do, but otherwise we can move here from here with nothing. We talk a lot, we say everything, but what can we concretely, put in place so that in a sub-regional perspective, regional perspective, to have something very clear? Because when you come back to us, all those sub-Saharan countries, you see, just all those organizations, big one, for security countries, we do not have a clear place, you see. So anyway, let's say globally we are somewhere in the threshold of by the way, and the time being just always yes, I can say security is 80% depending on organization and alright, because Just general. I'm not revealing the seller. Right, but this is come on. I mean, what's the difference between a selection or a block registry and a selection? What's the asking price? Something sticky. There's another one that's a week ago. Not paying more or less than anybody else is. Yeah. 1250. Somebody bought an ASM. Then slash 18 for 1250. I'm not buying it. Seller is somebody else. Great question. The sellers are Aaron doesn't work.
I was like, I just want the pictures, but if I didn't want the picture, I would have
Can you help us get a good photo at the fireworks? Now we will have to photo. Oh.
Okay.
It's a beautiful live streaming.
I just sent to my phone. You can just.
And it's a beautiful chapter.
But streaming is
The menu.
the menu. Okay.
There's something called Internet Shutdown.
It's easier.
Because the registry, these don't get transferred to the registry. Well, Africa's gonna start to allow transfers.
Have you been able to find the website? Excuse me. Have you been able to find the
Yes, yes.
Which room is this in? Oh, okay.
My friend, aren't you going to be up there? I will, so but I'm just sitting temporarily. Okay, alright. Just making sure you don't forget. Are you trying to push me away?
So let's go to
One, one, two, one.
Put them here.
It's not immediately obvious. So they don't do it. Which is why by the way,
One, two. Yeah.
There seem to be too many chairs for this table.
Well, I can't focus on her. I can't focus on her. I can't focus on her there. Just the crowd.
Whatever you get, you can.
Yes, right. Yes. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I need to try to remember everything.
Well,
Do you know Dr. Quayle?
that does not sit near me, so God can do it. Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Shutdown panel. I'm not here to lead the panel. I'm here only to introduce your moderator and host for the panel, Dr. Ni Quayle, a very well-known personality in the internet in Africa. If I can stand somewhere I don't get feedback. Sorry, that's just not working. Okay, so before we get too deafened by the sound of whistling, let me pass it over to Dr. Quayle to lead this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. And welcome everyone. The session says the purpose of the panel is to demystify internet shutdown in Africa and view it with a lens of different stakeholders in the region. Shutdown may also mean that we failed already. Versus open up, which could mean we have a chance to get it right. We have a panel consisting of 5 others, and I'll just go down the list so you become familiar with who is here. There's Sunday Fulayan, global figure from Nigeria. He's of Afrinic Strong Association. He's a technical representative and familiar and active in the business sector. So Sunday is here. We also have Dr. Sherif Diallo, Ministry of ICT, Senegal. Thank you. And we have government ARPCE, Luke. Let me get a name of Missy Dimbazi Congo. Okay, let's welcome him also. And then we have Grace Gitaiga, Kenya, Net, and civil society. So we welcome her also. Then we have Kathleen Indongumo, Cameroon, and civil society. Let's welcome her also. We were anxious to have Vincent Ngundi from the Communication Authority, but it's a little difficult for him because of schedules and activity. So welcome. The subject that we have is not the policy development session. It is not the policy development session. So we are not going to be discussing any policy. Okay? We are rather going to have what I would describe as a non-binding conversation among a family and friends on a topic that we don't even know what it means. There will be no decisions, and nothing we'll say here binds anybody to do anything. But we hope that in the engagement, we shall all learn something that we can take back to whatever community or thinking or orientation we have. I prefer we discuss on service interruptions instead of shutdown. So even though the subject has been phrased as shutdown, I think we are really discussing service interruptions. We also have to gain a better understanding of the multi-stakeholder approach, the roles and the responsibilities in the roles. Because me saying I can sit with government does not mean I can make decisions like governments. Me sitting with civil society may perhaps not be the same as I can articulate social impact concerns the same way they can. So we need to factor in the different roles and therefore the responsibilities that come with them. There are a few other comments I'd like to throw on the floor before I share with you how we're going to go about it. The first is that there is a difference between decision processes and decisions. So we should not be trying to force anything. We don't plan to have accidents, but sometimes accidents do happen. But we do normally try to prepare for situations that we know could happen. Okay. There may be differences in thinking regarding lawful approaches and unlawful approaches, in this case with respect to service interruptions. So different contexts have different known public rules or policies or laws, and we're in Africa, large continent, there are different positions across, and we should factor that also in. We should also appreciate that sometimes the reasons for giving for various things have a bearing quote-unquote national security or security, safety, and welfare. Safety and welfare of a community. Okay, so we should therefore understand that we have to follow maybe the example Internet Society and others talk about, collaborative security, I don't know, trust, building trust, and related things with respect to working with an important party to our multi-stakeholder and community. We should also understand that if you don't have a clear statement of what we are going to do, sometimes resolution is not so straightforward. And all of us are here, in effect, to act in the public interest. Okay? And so we should do our very best to work in that line. What I propose is that each panelist with me will take maybe a 5-minute opening remark. And then, since I want to hear from you, we'll come immediately to the community here, and you ask as many questions, comments as possible. Just be brief and very specific. Remember, this is non-binding, it's just an open discussion. And then, if there's time, I will ask the panelists again to say some more. Okay? And then, if there's time, I'll come back to the community again and ask them to give us some more input. Okay, questions, comments. I don't think we can guarantee any of these questions will be answered or any of these comments will be debated. But I think I want to encourage the dialogue, okay, that we need to have as members of the same community. So with that, when we are done, I'll ask them to make closing remarks, maybe 3 minutes or something like that, and then we can wind down. So with that, I'd like to invite introductory remarks, and I wanted to do it, and perhaps I'll do it in the same order as was announced, so that I am not affecting process that has been laid down. Okay. So according to the list we have the first to make the introductory remarks as Mr. Sunday Folayan. Sunday, you got the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be discussing from the Afrinic perspective, because there's so many perspectives to this issue. It's the issue of the big elephant that is being fondled by very many people, very many blind men. So the man on the back says, it's a flat world out here. The one holding the trunk says, hey, this looks like a snake. And of course, the one that is holding the leg says, it's a very big, fat, tall tree. So you would forgive me, my approach would be from the Afrinic perspective. First of all, some talks or comments about our organization. Afrinic is a membership-based organization. It's headquartered in Mauritius, where its members are all over Africa and the world, with a large percentage being in Africa, because Afrinic is expected to serve the African region. And part of our objective is to develop the internet in Africa. Africa is coming late to the dinner table when it comes to internet development. And we don't want our people to starve because they came to the restaurant at 9 p.m. when the restaurant had opened since 7 p.m. So Afrinic is charged with the responsibility of making sure that nobody goes to bed without dinner. There are two things or two ways of looking at the organization. Afrinic as a company is the organization that has the staff who run about to make sure things work, and they are guided by policies. These policies themselves are made by the second half of the constellation, which is the Afrinic community. The Afrinic community does not necessarily need to be an organization that enjoys resources from Afrinic. It could be anybody interested in how these resources are deployed. They can be members of that community. So members of the community will then include all the engineers, all the businesses and companies that take IP resources, the governments who are interested, civil society who believe that the impact of the internet has some impact on the society. Now the policies themselves that guide the mode of operation of the company, i.e. the way and manner through which these IP resources, usually IP addresses and autonomous system numbers that we call ASN for short, are distributed to those who need it. The policy and rules by which they are distributed is created by the community. It is not created by the company. So the community creates these policies. And the way the community creates the policies is through what we call a bottom-up approach. Anybody who wants or believes something should be done in a way proposes. When you propose, then it is discussed until it gains consensus. When it gains consensus, then the policies are implemented. Now, there are two types of policies. There are policies that relate to the regional registry. Afrinic is one of 5 regional registries. It serves the African region. There are also other regional registries that serve other parts of the world. There's ARIN, which serves the Americans, LACNIC, which serves the Latin American and Caribbean. There is APNIC, which serves the Asia and Pacific region. And there is RIPE, which is very ripe. They are old and ripe. It's actually a French word for Réseau People Europeans. So it's in French. So there are two types of policies. Policies that are local to a registry and policies that are global. Now this is the thing about life. When things work, everybody is so used to it, nobody talks. When things fail, everybody goes crazy, it has failed. And I like to say this for the sake of African governments. You see, when IPv4 was running out, because as I said earlier on, Africa comes to the dinner table very late. Some people sat down and said, for Africa not to suffer, we need to make sure that though we are not ready with deployments and things, Africa should not be shortchanged. So there was a global policy proposed that when we get to the last chunk of big sizable IP addresses, which I will call for nomenclature's sake now, /8. I don't want to teach and explain what /8 means. When it remains 5/8, the policy is that we shall distribute those 5, 1 each to every registry. And so it happened when the last 6/8 was consumed and there was just 5 left, everybody got one of the regional registries. Now, Afrinic was moving at the rate of maybe just using half of a /8 over a 3, 4, 5 year period, which means that /8 will last 10 years. But the other regions were using their /8s at the rate of 1 every 2 or 3 months. So, some people fought for Africans not to be shortchanged to make such a large type of reservation. Kudos to the likes of Professor Nin. Thank you for those great works you did. And every other member of the community involved in that effort. But African governments were nowhere to be found when that was being done. Civil society, I don't even know where they were then. But there were people who were playing those intermediate roles for Africa not to go hungry without dinner. So when those policies were being done, people looked crazy. But then the policy development process allowed it. it was followed through, and we also thank our colleagues in the other regions who those saw the fact that they needed it. They needed it. But they also realized that, okay, these people too will need it. Let us exercise some restraint so that they can have those things in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, the key is cooperation, the key is understanding, the key is respect. That is the substrate on which the internet was built upon. So I'll now move on to the issue of service interruption. I'm not going to say it's the best thing, I'm not going to say it's the worst thing, but let us look at why. And I have 3 reasons why I think there is service interruption. The first is the janitor problem. You may not understand the janitor problem very well, but I'll illustrate it with a story. You see, there was this guy, this hospital with an intensive care unit, and every Wednesday, they noticed that a patient in intensive care dies. And so this medical intern decided to find out why, and he laid vigil at the intensive care hospital. And so precisely that Wednesday, the janitor came in, unplugged the life support system, plugged his vacuum cleaner, and went at work. And 2 minutes later, the patient on intensive care died. What's most important? Is it the patient or the floor to be vacuumed? That's what I call the janitor problem. That is why the internet may be disrupted sometime in Africa. Who dies? It's always the patient on intensive care. The second reason for service interruption is what I call the stray rat problem. So this stray rat comes into your house, eats your food, and runs into the bush. Now you have to kill that rat. You can spend the next 5 hours cutting the bush to find the rat. Or if the rat was really stupid, it ate the best cloth your wife will use for Christmas. Just look for a match, light it, put it in the bush, burn the whole bush down, the rat must die. So, the third one is what is not defined. There's some form of collateral damage. Because every time you disrupt service, something goes. Is it the sanity of the network engineer who needs to keep the network running? Is it the business? You shut down the internet for 1 day. 1/365, which is 0.2% of revenue, is lost in hard cash. But it's not only revenue. What about goodwill? What about the families that live upon that business? What about the emotions of the people who are responsible for supporting that business? What about the competition that takes over? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm supposed to have made initial remarks. I sincerely apologize for boring you.
Thank you. We'll proceed and get more initial remarks. So I'd like to invite Dr. Sherif Diallo to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I am going to speak French. Je vais parler en français pour nos amis francophones parce que c'est vraiment dommage qu'une session aussi importante que celle-là ne soit pas traduite pour nos amis francophones. Bon. La question du shutdown, c'est important de bien la comprendre d'abord avant de parler de politique ou de mesures. Alors, ce qu'il faut dire, c'est que on distingue souvent 2 cas. Il y a la coupure totale d'Internet, comme il peut y avoir aussi une coupure partielle qui adresse certains services ou certains domaines bien déterminés. On note en 2016, il y a eu plus de 50 shutdowns à travers le monde qui ont causé des dommages importants en termes de finances, jusqu'à hauteur de 1,9 milliard de livres. Donc si on regarde que l'aspect économique, on peut dire que effectivement que c'est un vrai problème. Mais avant d'y revenir, essayons encore de comprendre un peu plus davantage cette problématique. Il y a des pays qui se sont aujourd'hui, en tout cas levés, pour adopter des lois, pour pouvoir faire des coupures, soit totales ou partielles d'Internet. On peut noter par exemple la Grande-Bretagne, on peut noter la Turquie, on peut noter l'Égypte, par exemple. Cela permet en tout cas, en cas de survenance de ces événements, de pouvoir mieux légitimer ou de pouvoir en tout cas c'est fini, oui. Si vraiment.
Please speak in French.
D'accord, on s'est compté en français, ok. Ouais, merci. Donc, je disais que parmi ces pays, on note l'Angleterre, on note la Turquie, on note l'Égypte, qui ont adopté en tout cas des lois qui leur permettent de pouvoir couper partiellement ou totalement l'Internet selon certains cas. Souvent, ça peut être justifié en cas de guerre, en cas d'émeute, en cas de crise, etc., etc. Et en tout cas, dans les lois, c'est plus ou moins bien encadré selon les types de pays. Mais tout cela veut dire quoi? Cela nous amène à penser, comme certains le pensent souvent, est-ce qu'il faut aller vers des politiques anti-shutdown quand on regarde l'angle économique, les pertes que cela peut causer, ou bien les dommages que cela peut causer quand l'Internet est coupé dans un pays ou pas? Ce qu'il faut d'abord comprendre, c'est que les États font partie de la communauté d'Internet. D'accord? Que ce soit Afrique ou ailleurs, tout État fait d'abord partie de la communauté d'Internet. En ce sens où ce sont ces organisations, ces institutions, ou ce sont ces entreprises qui sont membres de cette communauté, en quelque sorte. Et tout État aussi a intérêt que toutes ces composantes se portent bien, que ces entreprises se portent bien, que son économie se porte bien, que la sécurité se porte bien, que son image de marque, etc., etc. Et donc, les États, en tout cas, n'ont pas intérêt aussi à aller à l'encontre des intérêts de la communauté, si on comprend bien. Donc, de là à vouloir aller vers des politiques anti-shutdown, je pense que c'est louable, mais il faut peut-être y aller tout doucement, quelque sorte. Il ne faut pas y aller de manière précipitée. Parce que, est-ce qu'un organisme aujourd'hui a la légitimité de juger la décision d'un État qui serait légitime ou pas, alors que cet État est entièrement souverain et a décidé à un moment donné de prendre une décision dans un sens ou dans un autre? On peut citer par exemple le cas du Cameroun, je pense que l'une des panélistes y reviendra, lorsqu'il y a eu des cas de shutdown dans une partie du Cameroun en raison des émeutes qui ont eu lieu dans ces zones-là. Donc, c'est important en tout cas d'inclure dans la réflexion ces États-là et de prendre en compte leurs intérêts, de les écouter aussi, et toujours chercher peut-être à trouver un consensus que d'arriver à avoir peut-être des politiques mécaniques. Quand on met en place une politique mécanique dans tout ce domaine, il y a trois questions qui se posent. La première, qui applique, qui d'abord définit à partir de quels critères, à partir de quelles règles techniques on va constater d'abord qu'il y a eu un shutdown. Parce que la problématique technique n'est pas simple. Est-ce qu'il s'agit d'un simple email ou d'un simple coup de fil d'un utilisateur vers un organisme pour juger de la culpabilité d'un État à mis en place un shutdown ou pas? Voilà d'abord une première question à laquelle il faut répondre. Quand on met en place ces politiques avec des règles plus ou moins qui sont dictées à l'avance, comment appliquer ces règles-là? C'est la deuxième question qui se pose. Comment appliquer ces règles de manière efficace? Et la troisième question, elle est aussi importante, il ne faut pas l'oublier, dans les politiques, si jamais on les met en place, c'est quelle voie de recours ont les États, ou en tout cas les organismes vers lesquels s'appliquent ces politiques, pour pouvoir, en tout cas pour pouvoir faire valoir leurs droits. Donc voilà un certain nombre de questions qu'il faut vraiment mûrir de manière approfondie avant d'arriver à élaborer des politiques ou en tout cas à essayer de les appliquer. Tout cela m'amène à penser que le mieux en tout cas dans toutes ces situations, c'est d'arriver à trouver des consensus entre les divers acteurs pour arriver en tout cas à prendre les intérêts des uns et des autres de manière à arriver à mettre en place peut-être des politiques qui seront en tout cas adoptées ou en tout cas respectées par tout le monde. Maintenant, regardons que l'angle économique. D'accord, on perd de l'argent, shutdown c'est pas bien, il faut mettre en place des politiques anti-shutdown. Mais finalement, tout est économique dans la rue. Parce que si à l'intérieur d'un pays, il y a des émeutes, ou bien un État indépendant qui est en train d'attaquer votre État dans un cadre d'un processus électoral, par exemple, pour remettre en cause votre souveraineté internationale même, qui va aller jusqu'à s'immiscer même dans les résultats de vos élections, en tendance ou dans un sens ou dans un autre. Est-ce que dans ce cas de figure, un État qui prend la responsabilité de couper l'Internet pour X raisons, est-ce qu'on ne risque pas, en tout cas quelque part, de dire que cet État-là a essayé de préserver l'économie de son pays, en quelque sorte? Donc il ne faut pas seulement regarder l'économie d'Internet lui-même, mais il faut regarder l'économie dans sa globalité et ne pas seulement prendre en compte que les dommages ou les pertes causées par les différentes coupures. Moi, en tout cas, pour ne pas parler longtemps et pour conclure rapidement, ce que je souhaite, c'est qu'il y ait vraiment un véritable dialogue, un véritable consensus avec les États pour pouvoir arriver à mettre en place quelque politique que ce soit. Et une première étape pour asseoir ce dialogue serait éventuellement de mettre en place une instance au sein de ces organismes-là où les États sont représentés et où les États peuvent discuter et amener des solutions et faire des propositions. Je pense à l'image du GAC, par exemple, au sein d'ICANN, on peut avoir des structures à peu près pareilles ou en tout cas similaires au sein d'Afrique qui nous permettraient en tout cas de prendre en compte les intérêts des États, qui ont aussi l'intérêt des populations, des civils, des entreprises, des organisations académiques, des institutions financières ou autres. Voilà en tout cas là où je voulais en finir, en vous remerciant de m'avoir invité à faire partie de ce panel. Je vous remercie.
Okay, this one is difficult for me too, but I think I'll ask for someone to translate for us, or summary, please. Just a summary so that others can also get into the discussion, please.
Okay, I picked it up from a part, so because I didn't know I was going to summarize this, but Doctor essentially was talking about the need for stakeholders and states to come to the table and actually hold dialogue and discussions and engagements that would be able to provide structure as well as best ideas and ideologies to ensure that internet disruptions are not perpetrated or continued in African countries. So he talked about states and government bodies being essentially a part of the internet and having a stake in using ICTs, and he said it is essential that because they are a part of they have a stake in this tool, they have to be able to ensure that it's not disrupted as it is now. He talked about the Access Now report that showed that between 2015 and 2016, there's been a double or maybe even triple the amount of service disruptions that have occurred around the world and especially in Africa. He also talked about the kind of policies. He asked what kinds of policies should be put in place and how do we put in place these policies to ensure that we are making policies that actually work in the context of the dynamics of African countries. He said it's essential to find best ways forward with every single stakeholder on the table, organized mainly by state governments. He talked about the fact that everything in a nation revolves around the economy and the economic landscape of that nation. And so it's not, he asked if it's worth the risk of states to disrupt services when at the same time they're trying to look at the big picture of the economic impact that it can have, and not just the economic impact online, but the bigger economic impact in the nation. And then finally, he rounded up by saying that we need real dialogue and we need real consensus and real measures put in place. He talked about working with organizations like ICANN and Afrinic, who can take these considerations forward and build structures that would actually include everybody and have states to propagate the need for keeping the internet open.
Okay.
In French?
Oh, I'm in charge here. So allow me to. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think this, so far the comments are in consonance with what we intended. So I will simply proceed. And next to make opening remarks is Luke Missy Dimbazi.
Désolé, on va reprendre le même exercice en français et je vais exercer. Mais le problème, c'est que c'est vraiment typiquement le problème qu'on a à régler ici, c'est trouver des équilibres. Et là, vous voyez qu'il y a déjà cet équilibre à trouver entre les French et les anglophones. Mais je sais qu'Afrinix fait très bien les choses et c'est peut-être quelque chose qu'on a dû échapper, mais je préfère rester dans ma langue maternelle, qui est le français. Je remercie déjà Afrinic de nous avoir invités ici à cette table. Je vais être très bref pour permettre l'interprétation. Et je suis en quelque part tout à fait aligné avec le docteur, donc je ne vais pas répéter ce qu'il a dit. Simplement, je vais partir d'un principe. Personne n'est content, heureux, quand on a une interruption d'Internet. Et surtout pas nous, les acteurs principaux. Et mon pays fait partie de ceux qui ont déjà connu cette expérience-là. Et il faut juste rappeler que ces décisions, parfois, sont difficiles à prendre, mais elles sont aussi nécessaires. Et la nécessité, comme l'a dit le docteur, il ne faut pas la voir avec une perception de simplement l'utilisateur. Et il peut avoir derrière d'autres motivations. L'autre fait que je veux rappeler, puisqu'il a déjà détaillé sur ce sujet, c'est que, comme le disait M. Sondé tout à l'heure, l'Afrique n'est pas le premier pays qui coupe Internet. Il n'a pas été le seul. Et quand vous regardez dans les 140 coupures qu'il y a eu ces dernières années, il y a d'autres continents qui sont bien impactés par cette problématique. Ce qui change, ce sont parfois les motivations, ce sont parfois les causes et effectivement les raisons qui poussent surtout certains pays à en arriver là. Mais il n'y a pas que les pays, il y a aussi des problèmes techniques qu'on oublie souvent. On oublie qu'aujourd'hui, par nos infrastructures, par la façon dont nous configurons nos réseaux, on est aussi victime de ces problèmes-là. Donc, je vais conclure tout à l'heure pour dire que le problème, ce n'est pas simplement de voir les choses sous un seul angle, mais de voir les choses de façon globale et essayer de réfléchir pour trouver des solutions globales. Il faut aujourd'hui arriver à trouver les équilibres. Et ça, quand on regarde les militants, c'est des équilibres qui se présentent entre, par exemple, cet espace qui est un espace de liberté fondamentale, mais ces libertés, quand nous ne sommes pas sur la toile dans la vie de tous les jours, il y a des limites. Il y a à des moments des barrières, il y a à certains moments on va dire des garde-fous qui veillent à cette liberté fondamentale. Même si l'espace change, les principes doivent rester les mêmes. Donc, pour faire court, je veux vraiment inviter les participants et les acteurs du numérique à privilégier, je vais inviter les acteurs du secteur à privilégier une réflexion profonde sur ces équilibres trouver le moyen d'inciter un meilleur usage d'Internet en respectant parfois l'ordre public, en respectant les droits fondamentaux, en respectant les engagements des militants Internet de garantir un service permanent et de bonne qualité, et en respectant effectivement le monde économique qui se développe, donc pour lequel l'Internet est aujourd'hui un des catalyseurs. Donc mon idée, c'est vraiment de pousser la réflexion pour trouver le meilleur équilibre entre ces deux oppositions. Et ça, je m'arrêter là.
Okay, thank you. So, will someone translate? But I can see that he wants us to guarantee services for economic development. But can someone translate for me or summarize?
Okay, I have a new job. And that's nice. Okay, so he started by thanking Afrinic for having him on the panel. And he was essentially opening by saying there's really a fundamental need to have a balance in everything that we say and how we present the arguments, that we have regarding service disruptions. He says no one is happy, no one is satisfied when there's a service disruption, especially when we are principal actors in the entire ecosystem of ICTs on the continent. But he insisted that Africa is not the only and the first continent with service disruptions, that the difference actually with us lies in the causes, the reasons and the justifications that are given for service disruptions. He pointed out to the fact that we must remember that technical and infrastructure, there are also technical and infrastructural reasons that affect service disruptions on the continent. And he insisted that our fundamental freedoms are affected when such disruptions happen, and it's important to uphold those freedoms, yet it is also important to find a balance in how we advocate for the freedoms versus sort of responsibilities that every actor has in the ecosystem.
Wonderful. In spite of any limitations, we make progress. So this is great. Let's try and get the next one. The next one that we have, I believe now we have reached Grace Gitaiga.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Grace Gidaiga from the Kenya ICT Action Network, that is KICTANET. As Dr. Diallo was speaking in French, I just thought, I think this is a very good analogy of what would happen if we experienced an internet shutdown, because when I look around, everybody's on their phone, on laptop, they are on the internet, and I could only hear coupe, etc., etc., etc. So I just thought, okay, right now it's amusing, but how long would I stand that just being in a place where I cannot understand anything? And I thought we have become so used to, internet that we can't imagine a minute without our phone or just going online to find out what's happening. So I have been slotted to speak on behalf of civil society, but I represent a platform that is multi-stakeholder. And so even if I speak on behalf of civil society, I bring on board many other voices of the multi-stakeholder platform of the Kenya ICT Action Network. So KICTANET, the media foundation of West Africa based in Ghana, and Media Rights Agenda made based in Nigeria. We have been concerned about the increasing trends of service disruptions in the continent. And so we have been thinking, what should we do as a way of contributing to an informed decision? And this has been based on the fact that service disruptions not only constitute severe violations of human rights of those affected, but can cause harm to important societal interests such as healthcare, such as education, such as economic, such as development, and the examples are many. And so what we are saying is that we need to dialogue. We need to dialogue in a multi-stakeholder way in our different roles and responsibilities and agree, for example, that we need principles for development of policies that address service disruptions. For example, when we discuss that, we have been saying we need policies that should address disruptions in an open, in an inclusive, and in a transparent manner, and with the engagement of all stakeholders in their different roles and responsibilities. We are also, debating that, policies should be developed either directly or indirectly, but they should not impact upon the exercise of the enjoyment of human rights, or they should not cause important harm to important national and societal interests, such as sustainable development. So we need policies that are consistent and have been developed in accordance with international human rights law and standard and relevant documents such as the Africa Declaration on Internet and Human Rights. And so we have been working, and we have worked on a policy document that is here. Actually, when we came, I didn't imagine that the room would be so full. So I imagined maybe we'll only have 20 people. So I didn't bring enough copies, but I can bring more copies tomorrow for the open session. But what we are looking at in the policy briefly is that we have actually looked at our definition, and we are saying intentional disruption is what we should be concerned about. And intentional rather than unintentional, which results which is as a result of forces or events outside of control of us or of the state. And so we are saying, we have a component on human rights, and this is anchored in Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Peoples and Human Rights. And Article 19, for all of you, it provides for right to everyone to freedom of opinion and expression. We have Article 20, which provides for the right to freedom of special assembly and association, because the internet has allowed us to assemble online, to associate online, and so if there's a service disruption, that right is affected. We also are saying that every person has a right to take part in government of his or her country, directly or through freely chosen representatives, and therefore everyone has a right of equal access to a public service in the country. And we are saying that internet is now a public service. We also look at the political argument, and one of the things that has been happening is that there has been service disruptions based on the concern of national security. Whether justified or not depends actually on the context. But what we are saying, it remains problematic in as much as it's a response to genuine national security concerns, because it's the patterns that have been merging have really been to suppress the I don't want to call decent voices, but different voices, or voices that then governments do not want to hear. And so we put up a case for that. And finally, we have an economic argument, and we are saying that we anchor the policy on the fact that Africa aspires to leverage on ICTs for economic development. And so there have been massive investment in ICT infrastructure in the continent, and therefore network disruptions or the disruption of services, therefore we have seen they are causing economic losses. And then who pays for these losses when an entire there's an entire service shutdown in a country? And so we need to start understanding those statistics. We need to have that information so that when when there is a service disruption, we understand what are the implications. And I've also been saying it's always good to be informed, because then you make decisions from an informed point of view, because you might just be surprised that you are the ones who will recommend for that service disruption based on information. But we must not be emotional about that. We must be informed by the right decision based on statistics, based on research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to take the last, but the most important, our interpreter also. Please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm really honored to be on this panel. Let me start with a little story. So I'm from Cameroon, and I'm going to speak from the perspective of an active citizen who is a user and who is affected when there is deliberate, that's my focus, service interruption. Okay, so I was traveling from Cameroon to Addis, and to Stockholm through Addis. And I got to Addis, and there was no internet at the airport. We always expect to have internet at the airport. There's no internet. So this is not a service disruption at all. There's no internet because I can't connect for some reason. And I noticed that my behavior changed because I became really irritable, really annoyed, really picking a fight with everybody. And someone tapped me and said, "What is wrong?" So my answer was, "I'm suffering from internet withdrawal syndrome." Right? So then it made me think, right, I need a medical practitioner to actually formulate a correlation between a lack of internet and internet services and maybe medical, I don't know, but there must be something there. Now, I'm going to focus more on, and I like the slide that is up. I took it from this report that Grace just showed us, which was launched today. It's a brilliant report. I urge all you to read it. I'm speaking from the perspective of, I'm from Central Africa, right? So you can look there and see the regions that are really affected by deliberate internet disruptions. And you can see what is happening in Central Africa. It's very worrying. I want to take this from a different angle. We already know everything that is going on. If I was suffering from internet withdrawal syndrome because I was spending an hour or two at an airport, you can imagine what people would suffer from when the internet is taken away for 94 days. Think about it. Now, the question for me has been, will people be more wary of speaking up, of carrying out activities, of being active citizens when the internet is taken away deliberately, when there are these service disruptions which are deliberate? And for me, in this region, the answer is simple. Social hypnosis in Cameroon, where I come from, has been broken, especially after the 94-day shutdown and the campaign that eventually brought back the internet. And the reason I say this is because for 5 decades, we have a government that has been able to close every other form of dissent. And this is the one form of dissent that is difficult to close by its very nature. And so it's really important for us as active citizens and as stakeholders who actually pay for this service to continue to advocate for it in ways that, as he said earlier, are very balanced from every angle. The noticeable trends that we have currently is the timing around network interruptions. It's generally elections, it's protests, it's when there's exposure, transparency. We've looked at, someone talked about national security argument. There is also a closing of other forms of such dissent. And the key concern for us is that everybody is affected by this. even those who perpetrate such disruptions. And I think it's time for us to begin to engage with one another, engage with those who provide the platforms to be able to understand that this is a valuable resource for us and the stakes are huge for every single stakeholder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think it's your turn, but let's move it forward. I don't believe there's anybody here who believes in shutdown. Does anybody believe in shutdown? I want to hear it. No. Does anybody believe in shutdown? No. Ah, there's a dissenting opinion. Get a mic. Please do it quick so that I can help you close. And don't talk plenty, just, go straight.
My name is Abdul Rashid, I'm from Somaliland. In some areas, I recommend shutdown. And the reason is that, back in Somali areas, there was conflicts. We are struggling to settle on the peace. People are using social media for some cases that are even against peace and security. So in that areas, it needs some regulations or to shut down that kind of areas because it is against the peace and security. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, good. But you would agree, I want to close this first question, but you would agree that it's not your first choice. It's not your first choice, yes or no? I mean, it's not your first choice. You prefer that you find some other means. Good, thank you. We've made one progress. Does anybody here believe that there should be sanctions when someone does that? When you've already destroyed a thing, you want to destroy more? Tell me, do you believe in sanctions because somebody has erred? Yes. Well, tell us, answer. Yes. Please. What do you mean by sanctions? Yes, please.
100%. It's my view that the governments are elected by their citizens, and to shut down the internet is to deny a fundamental human right. And I do believe that there has to be some kind of sanction, be that sanction at the ballot box, be that sanction in terms of financial penalty, be that sanction in revocation of resources. That is an open question. But yes, 100%, there should be some kind of sanction because it is a government that was elected by the citizens that is now denying a fundamental human right to those very citizens. And even if it means going to someone like the IMF and saying to the IMF, why are you putting money into countries that are denying the human rights of their citizens? So yes, I'm all for the sanctions.
Very good. We will test it. Please, those who want sanctions, say yay. Those who don't want sanctions, say no. No! You got it. So let's proceed. I want us to proceed because we cannot stay here forever. The time is also ticking very hard here. Next question I want to throw is what's the best forum to address something like this? Because we have other forums. There's IGF, there's other United Nations, and so on. Because me sitting here as a peon, I'm not sure this is a forum for me to decide to go and sanction my government. I may not get visa. Anyway. I may not. I'm saying, there's the right place to address the issue. So I'm asking a question. Is this the best forum? Is this the optimum forum? Or which optimum forum should we deflect this particular subject? This is all forums. I like it, please.
It can be this forum, but I think the problem is very important to address the issue on all the kind of the forums you can have regarding internet.
Move out from under the speaker.
Just move.
Come out from under the speaker. Let him talk.
Okay. I would wish to say that maybe we can use a forum to bring up proposals that can be forwarded to maybe to the African Union, where legislations can be like can be created or can be enacted into law to put pressure on the government. Maybe once you are like a member of the AU, maybe you have to respect those legislations. Thank you.
Can I just suggest if you can queue up here and then I'll pass the mic? That would be better, I think. If I may. Thank you.
I honestly believe no matter what the forum, if the forum doesn't have a stick by which it can enforce or at least punitively do something to encourage the organization or the government or whoever it is who is doing the bad thing, it needs to be someone with a stick. Someone that can take something away or do something in a stick.
In answer to the question is on which forum, I believe that this is the beginning of a discussion that is going to take us several, possibly years, to get to a solution. We are having it in this forum because we have started it in this forum. But the ultimate ability of whether we shall be able to make anything meaningful out of this will only be possible depending on whom we also choose to bring on board, to partner with, to collaborate with, to work together with. Because on our own, as a technical people, because we are really a technical community, we have very little ability. But if, as a technical community, we can agree, we have a problem, and this problem must be addressed. And therefore, we are coming together as a technical community and reaching out to the forums where governments have put their ears, their hearts, and their whole selves into, to work with us to help us address it, then we can make some headway. Because in the absence of that, the governments have been sitting in their own space and there's been lack of a disconnect between the technical community and the governments, and we need to bridge that. So as a starting point, this is a good forum to start the conversation.
Okay. Question. Allow me, I want to get you to get more, do you beat your children or you reward your children? Well, I'm saying think about it like that, because right now we are swinging the whole discussion one way, but I think I'm calling your attention to the fact that there's the other as well. Anyway, make your comment.
Thank you very much. One thing I believe is that if you look at the history of the internet, there's been this transition to make it into the multi-stakeholderism. And one thing is that we can't just simply sit back and see our governments shut down the internet and we just keep on looking back. We have internet society here, we have the ICANN here, and we have different various stakeholders that are playing key roles as far as promoting usability. The UN Declaration has internet as a human right. If the internet has been declared as a human right, why should I be denied my right to use the internet? And that's why I see this is a very great forum to bring, because it encompasses all stakeholders together, and this is a message to show that the internet should be used, because lots of finances are being lost. Health situation is also being affected. Transport systems are being affected. And we've seen an example of Cameroon. There are many others. In Uganda, during the election period, when the internet was shut down, it was not only the internet, but also mobile money transactions were shut down. And by that time, a lot of revenue was lost because you can't even transfer finances. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I think we already passed that we don't like shutdown. I think we've already passed that, so don't go back there. Let's advance. We are now looking for what to do, and proposal on the table is all forums at different degrees. So sometimes we may have to take ourselves to other forums.
I beg, can I ask Paul to translate for me? For your new job? Thank you. I will speak in French. Bien. Je pense que ce forum, tout le monde sait que c'est les techniciens qui sont réunis ici pour le renforcement de leur capacité. Il est tellement plus facile de brancher un câble que de discuter de la politique. Discuter de la politique prend plus de temps que de brancher un câble. Nous sommes ici tous réunis en tant que techniciens pour renforcer nos capacités. Je ne pense pas que ce forum-ci soit adapté pour discuter de ce genre de problème, étant donné que d'autres forums existent, comme l'ONU, où les gens peuvent s'auto-censurer puisque ce sont les représentants des États qui se retrouvent là-bas. Ils peuvent s'auto-censurer. Nous, on n'a aucun pouvoir ici. Qui peut se lever pour aller devant son ministre et lui dire, bon, toi, si tu coupes Internet demain, on éteint tout. Qui? Personne parmi nous ici. Même s'il est le représentant d'un ministère. Il y a l'ONU, il y a d'autres organisations qui sont mieux outillées parce que eux, ils ont des capacités de dialoguer directement avec nos gouvernants. Donc je ne pense vraiment pas que ce forum soit adapté pour discuter de ce sujet. Merci.
Okay, very quickly, he says this. He thinks that this forum is mainly for tech people and those in the technical fields who are building their capacity. And he doesn't believe that this is the forum where we can discuss network disruptions and shutdowns to the degree where they'll be acted upon. He doesn't think that anyone can be censored or punished in a forum like this. And so he believes that the discussion should be emanated from organizations like the UN or the African Union, who can then urge governments to take action against network disruptions. Yes.
Hello. I just want to make a test for all of us to know who is here. So I'm going to ask, how many of the people here see themselves as civil society? If you do, raise your hand, please. Just relax and raise your hand, it doesn't matter. I want everyone to take a look and see who is here. Very good. How many of the people here see themselves principally as government? Okay. Thank you very much. How many of the people here see themselves as technical community? You see, this is the reason. This is the reason why you have to be very careful, because the people you are trying to sanction may not be here. You see, so we have to, we will do what we can here. We'll do what we can here. And if there's a nice one-page output that says that we are concerned about this and we could do A, B, C, D, we can try and channel it through some other places. Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ephraim Kenyanito. I'm from Article 19. So something that was interesting about this proposal is, for the first time, there's not just this proposal, but this discussion is thinking about sanctions. Because the UN, they've made declarations since 2012, the UN Human Rights Committee, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights in Gambia in November, they made they said they were concerned about shutdowns in Africa, and the same UN language, the same diplomatic language, you are concerned and we urge governments to respect human rights and free expression. But then, for the first time, there's a new angle. What do we do as a recourse, as citizens, as a multi-stakeholder community? I know this is something that is creating a lot of discomfort because the world is changing from closed, multilateral level of discussion to more multi-stakeholder governance, not just in the ICT sector, but also development sector, businesses in other sectors, and it's discomfort to people who are used to doing business in the traditional way of doing business. And just to echo what Fiona said, is that this is a great starting point. Let's think about it. But then the new angle, the new addition beyond what the UN has said, beyond what the African Commission has said, is that we need to think of recourse and try and say that this is the quantity of the disruptions, just quantifying that in economic terms. Thank you.
Okay, please, what recourse are you proposing?
I would recommend sanctions. Not sure in what manner, but sanctions to some degree. I know communications are essentials. They're very essential. They would affect other industries. But if they know that the sanctions are such as the one, though I don't know how technically possible that would be, denying them IP addresses. There should be sanctions.
What sanction?
To that extent, maybe denying them IP addresses, though I know that will cause discomfort to some people, but just insisting that there need to be consequences, because people cannot do things knowing that there are no consequences to those actions. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, I'm Asim Nakhal, a telecom regulatory authority of Egypt. So, Dr. Nee, please, before we are talking about sanctions on government, we need to know that any sanctions will be applied on government, whether it's limiting the number of IPs or it's any kind of sanctions. At the end, it will impact the development of the government, the development of the country, the development of the civil society, and also the development of the whole people of this country. So instead of talking about sanctions, I would like to talk about remedies. I will give you an example. We cut or shut down internet in Egypt in 2011 for 3 days. As a remedy, government offered free internet for 3 months for all internet users in Egypt. Okay, so instead of thinking about sanctions, which will affect or impact the development of the country, I would like to talk about remedies. Thank you.
Thank you. I speak in French. Je m'appelle Christophe, je viens de la RDC. Nous sommes l'un des pays qui a subi le plus de coupures d'Internet du fait d'une décision politique. Donc, à ce sujet, je pense que ce forum n'est pas du tout adapté. D'abord, au nom des arguments que les autres ont dit ici, qu'il y avait l'Union africaine et autres, mais du fait que même les sanctions qui sont proposées sont inefficaces, parce qu'elles ne vont pas protéger les victimes de ces coupures. Parce que quand il y a coupure, quelqu'un parlait ici des services mobiles qui ne passaient plus, il y a des sociétés qui ne fonctionnent plus. Mais si on sanctionnait, comme c'est envisagé dans cette règle-là, qu'on va retirer à ces pays les ressources, ça veut dire que les mêmes services ne fonctionneront pas. Les mêmes problèmes vont toujours se poser. Moi, je pense qu'il faut d'abord réfléchir sur toute la démarche, sur la sanction adéquate. Et qui doit sanctionner qui? Parce que pour qu'il y ait sanction, il faut qu'on soit dans une institution à laquelle les États ont accepté de déléguer une partie de leur souveraineté. Ils disent, quand on est à tel endroit, la décision qui est prise à cet endroit-là s'applique à nous tous. C'est pourquoi il existe ce qu'on appelle l'Union européenne et autres. Parce qu'ils savent que quand ils sont là-bas, toutes les décisions qui sont prises là-bas s'appliquent à eux automatiquement. Sinon là, on va rester dans des chimères, on va faire des règles qui ne s'appliqueront jamais, et au finish, c'est encore des populations africaines qui vont en pâtir. Je vous remercie.
Okay, that's Christopher from the DRC, who says that the DRC has experienced the most internet disruptions from a political perspective in Africa. And he was basically saying sanctions are ineffective and will be ineffective because those that they target are essentially the users of the same services. And so if you are going to sanction governments, then you're going to target the users of internet services locally. And he talked about who should sanction who. So essentially, he proposes that if there's going to be any sanctions at all, then these decisions should be taken by bodies where the nations, the governments have already subscribed to, and by the same vein offered some of their national sovereignty to, so that they can be essentially sanctioned by those bodies, for example, the UN. That's it.
Please, I'm cutting the line, so we got. Oh, please, you want to do it? Okay, please. From now on, nobody joins the queue because otherwise we'll be here forever, and I need to also hear the rest of the closing remarks, please. So, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Wangari Kabiru, and I have been part of the AIS as part of the Community Networks group, and this was run by the Internet Society. So I speak as someone who works with the communities, and I think this is the right place that this conversation is in, because that is where the technical community is. As the community members, we subscribe to tools that you create and provide to us through the internet, so that we can be able to provide connectivity to the communities we work in. We use prepaid services. Hardly are we able to access what is postpaid services from the tools that you create, whether you are ISPs, whether you are whoever you are, probably in as a tech community. So what that means, we make the decision between, are we going to eat or are we going to pay, so that we can communicate using the connectivity that comes from the tech community. So if there's any disruption, any shutdown, it means that as a tech community, you are sleeping on our money, our hard-earned money as a community people. And it means that someone must either pay for it or someone must be answerable for it. For us as a community, we don't know anything called there's a government that has shut down. Because to us, we are clear, unless it's a government service, because in some countries the government is the one that provides the service, we know it as it's a private sector that is providing for us to access connectivity. So if there's someone else, then it means that other person needs to be handled by whoever we are paying. So please, as technical community, this is the right place for us. Thank you.
So, please, we are not asking you whether shutdown is good or bad. So if you start to make comments on that subject, I'll stop you. But if you move on to other subsequent subjects, then we can have a dialogue. Next person, please.
Hello, my name is Grace Mutumu from Kenya. I'm just concerned about the framing of the issue and the actors and putting tech people in a box as if that is the only thing that a person can be. When you asked who's in civil society, I raised my hand. Who's a techie, I raised my hand. If you'd gone to ask who's in academia, I'd have raised my hand. Who has a bit of business interest, maybe I'd have raised my hand. So I don't think that is one aspect of it, that people wear different hats. And the second aspect of it is that there are a lot of techies who are concerned about human rights. And let's think outside the box. There are so many things that techies in this world have done to shape our future. And if we think about the future of the internet, governments need to know that if they keep pushing people and stifling people and taking away their rights due to political reasons, they are pushing people to create another internet. So the tech community actually, beyond giving statements to government, the tech community also holds, and anybody who can code and has a passion for human rights also holds a really big key in changing and in forcing everybody to come to the table, because they hold the key to making a different internet. So techies can do something, and this is the right forum.
Madam, I just want to, I don't think we disagree with you from the point of view of shutdown. We all don't seem to like it, okay? But people are questioning whether this is the right approach or this is the right forum. Because if you say you're multi-stakeholder, then you really must make good effort that there's sufficient engagement. And this is really what is being questioned. I hope you see where we're coming from.
I would just like to say that in this forum, at this moment, this forum that is full of techies, so to speak, there is also power to disrupt the internet and to disrupt the way the government is thinking, because if the government is going to continue shutting down the internet, techies can also shut down the internet.
We are very open. It's your view. We are very open. It's your view. I think people have other views. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Firstly, I second everything that she said. 100%. I also was listening to what Hytham said about remedies, and I quite like that. But I have a question. Who's going to pay for it? In a country where the internet is supplied by the government, then the government can happily go and say, we'll make the internet free for 3 months. In a country where the industry has been deregulated and you have private businesses that are incurring huge expenses in providing that service, those corporate businesses have to make money, else people are going to lose their jobs. And in the event of a shutdown, people lose their jobs because they stop making money. In the event of the government ruling that the internet must be free for 3 months, who is going to pay for it? If it's the government, great, I like that remedy. Let them pay if they shut down. That might be called a remedy, it might be called a sanction, but at least I know that if they're going to turn off the internet, somebody is going to pay, and that might discourage it. But someone has to pay, because you cannot put private business out of business because of the actions of the state shutting down the internet.
Thank you very much. You probably have to visit your government to get your licenses. Okay, folks, I think we've been at it for a while, and we cannot keep going forever. So I'd like to call on my panelists to at least make some closing remarks. And please try very hard to remain within 3 minutes, okay, so that we can finish. But this time, I will start it from my left and go down to my right. 3 minutes, and focus on your message. If it stays longer, I'll ask for withdrawal.
Thank you. En tout cas, je vais parler en français, je vais mieux m'exprimer. Je comprends et je suis partisan de ceux qui aiment Internet, qui ne souhaitent pas que ça soit coupé. Mais il y a 2 choses qui sont très importantes. C'est toujours avoir la perception des décideurs. Et ici, on entend beaucoup parler du gouvernement. Mais le gouvernement, dans le cas où c'est le cas de figure, le gouvernement demande la coupure d'Internet, c'est sur la base d'informations de sécurité, des agences de sécurité. Donc, parmi les organismes à associer pour ce débat, il faudra peut-être un jour prendre le temps d'écouter ce que vous disent les agents de sécurité. Le deuxième volet qui est très important, c'est aussi ce que vient d'aborder le dernier intervenant, c'est le business. Juste, je reviens sur la sécurité. Sur la sécurité, vous-même vous rendez compte que ces derniers temps, même notre communauté Internet est menacée par des attaques de multiformes que nous n'arrivons pas à contrôler. reportons cela au niveau de la sécurité globale et essayons de comprendre aussi ce son de cloche. Le deuxième volet, quand j'entends des gens s'inquiéter, se dire qui va payer, si c'est le gouvernement qui finance, dans ce cas, pas de problème, et si c'est les investisseurs. Aujourd'hui, quand il y a des catastrophes naturelles, est-ce que tous ces acteurs ne sont-ils épargnés? Non. Aujourd'hui, si vraiment il est avéré que l'on a évité une catastrophe sociale, économique, dans un pays parce qu'on a coupé Internet, il faut se poser la question de la façon dans l'autre sens. Est-ce que si les opérateurs, les fournisseurs d'accès Internet ont facilité une catastrophe financière, économique et sociale, est-ce qu'ils ont des assurances pour réparer les dégâts? Donc là, je reviens sur ma conclusion de tout à l'heure. Il faut vraiment trouver les bons équilibres. Il faut vraiment mener une vraie réflexion avec tous les acteurs, pas seulement le gouvernement, associer les agences de sécurité, associer les agences des droits de l'homme, la société civile, la communauté Internet et aussi les hommes du business. À ce moment-là, je pense que sortira une bonne solution à ce problème. Mais encore une fois de plus, cet espace est bien approprié pour commencer le débat, au moins pour la communauté technique, avec effectivement une poursuite souhaitée.
From the discussions, this is an emotive issue. So I will urge ourselves to dialogue, to listen to each other. The gentleman there doesn't have to shout the lady there because you don't agree with him or you don't agree with her. No need for shouting. Let us dialogue in a multi-stakeholder way. Let us be informed of all positions, and then based on an informed perspective, we will make very informed decisions. And on that note, I would like all of you to familiarize yourself with this policy brief. It's a good document, and we launched it today. We're also launching it here. Thank you.
Madam, don't use my forum for PR.
Okay, two things I want to close with. The first is that we all are not happy when we hear that military takes over government in Africa. Why? Because military carries guns and they believe that there is peace, they are not fighting war. They don't like what the political class is doing. But yes, they have the guns. So why can't they venture into government? I think as a technical community, we must also be careful. It's true, we seem to want our networks to work. We are not very happy with what is happening in government, but let us not turn the internet into guns and think we can just stroll into government and use the internet as a gun to make government runs proper. Let's continue to dialogue. Otherwise, we, the victims, may suddenly become the aggressors.
Okay, just very quickly, I'll say from an active citizen perspective, in any gradation of citizen activism, taking a picture or a video is the lowest risk form of engagement today. It's very important that our governments begin to have more understanding through learning and appreciating the value, the true value of this resource called the internet and ICT tools. And one of the ways they can do that is engage with those providers of those tools, essentially. So when Facebook or Google or any local provider comes and knocks on your door as a government official and says, I really want to engage with you, please do. Our experience is that government shuts its doors a lot. And so it perpetuates this continuous fear and suspicion that is really unnecessary. And from the side of active citizens as well, responsibility is really important. So as much as we want to advocate and we want to dialogue and we want to express our dissent, we must understand that doing it in a responsible way also causes that bridge between the government suspicion and the citizen dissent to melt one way or the other. Thank you.
simplement, oui, l'Internet doit être disponible. Oui, tous les services offerts par Internet doivent aussi être disponibles à tout moment et en tout lieu. Oui, je suis défenseur des libertés individuelles et des droits de l'homme. Oui, je suis aussi défenseur de la tranquillité publique et de la sécurité intérieure de chacun de nos États. Ça, il faut qu'on le comprenne. Donc, cela dit, il faut trouver un équilibre. La question dont on parle, elle est similaire à celle d'un père de famille qui a décidé de fermer les portes de sa maison. Est-ce que ce père de famille-là, il faut lui couper le robinet et l'électricité? Non, il faut l'aider à ouvrir les portes de sa maison. Un État qui en vient à une décision douloureuse de couper l'Internet, même si c'est pour 5 minutes, cet État a besoin d'être aidé et pas d'être privé de ressources. Je vous remercie.
Okay, a quick summary of both. Okay, I'll come back to my. So, hold on. Sorry about this. So he said that he understands our feelings in this room, and he is not. He's still advocating for a balance in the way that we advocate towards keeping or advocate towards keeping the internet open. And he talked about when shutdowns happen, they generally come from reports from intelligence made by law enforcement agencies, and that even communities that are affected, business communities, are also affected by this. He talked about natural disasters and said, look, natural disasters affect everyone, yet every single stakeholder has protection mechanisms that they bring to the table to ensure that, we reverse the effects of natural disasters. And so he is essentially advocating for a balance in our dialogue, a balance in the way that we advocate for against internet shutdowns. And then Dr. Diallo said that, any state that takes the very painful decision of shutting down the internet should be helped, should not be sanctioned, because it's a painful decision for them, as he said. And he also advocated for balance in the way that we advocate for shutdowns.
Wow. So now you can see that you can say that this was not an easy session for even an old man. I think we have work in progress. It's not been determined if this is the best match of a forum for it, but I can say the following few words. There seems to be clear consensus on that shutdowns are not good for us from different angles. I hear that folks believe that we should be cautious, more balanced in our approaches and in our thinking, and we should be working more towards dialogue and engagement as another avenue to improve the openness of the internet. I sense those things. I also sense that there is a desire to have this discussed in additional forums, perhaps beyond here. And suggestions have been made. I will not refer to them because I want to kind of close on time. Now, we hear also that we must act responsibly and we must maintain the comradeship of our community as a multi-stakeholder environment. So said, don't shout at each other and so on and so forth. So it gives you a sense of where people want us to go. And my last perhaps comment is that we are doing a lot of things here in trust. And so we should also bear that in mind, that we must act in public interest, irrespective of who is shooting who and who is burning who. And with that, please, I'd like you to give my panelists a good hand. And I'm also very pleased with how you responded, so please give yourself some good clap. And we will continue to have dialogue on the subject, and I wish you all a good evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr.